Hi, I wanted to make this video today about my experience with enlisting in the Air Force. Before I left for basic training, I sat and watched video after video after video for probably 2 weeks about things like this, about people that had experienced it and tips and tricks that they had, what you need to pack, what you should do, what you should say, things not to do. And there were a lot of things that weren't exactly correct. There were a lot of things that I didn't watch that weren't told. There were a lot of things that I wish I had known. So I'm going to do my best today to go over everything that you would want to know. I'm going to start with MEPS, go over training that you should be working on at home before you leave for basic, packing lists, things to do while you're at basic, what not to do, things like that. So at the end of this video, if you have any questions, just leave me a comment and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can, because I know that a lot of you are on time constraints. You may be leaving in a week or two, so I'll do my best to get back to you. So let's start with MEPS. If you're watching this video, you've more than likely already talked to a recruiter. You may have already taken care of the first leg of MEPS, but we're going to start with what to expect there. So most people will go to MEPS 2 to 4 times. I went 4, and that was just because the first time was solely to take my ASVAB. The second time is when I went to do the test for the job that I wanted. I was lucky enough to be offered to test to be a linguist, a crypto linguist. I scored really high on my ASVAB. I was allowed to go back to MEPS and test to be a crypto linguist. So I went back again and tested for that and got that job. So I went back to MEPS a third time to do all of my preliminary medical testing and things like that. And then the fourth time that I went, I actually left for basic. So MEPS is kind of a tricky situation if you don't know what you're looking for. So all you really need to know is don't let them bully you. The people at MEPS, they may tell you that their job is to make sure that you're qualified and get you enlisted. That is a total lie. They are there to disqualify you. That is their whole purpose for being in that building. So they're going to look for everything that they possibly can. They're going to ask you thousands of questions, literally, make you fill out paperwork. You're going to answer the same question probably 15 times, and if you deviate from your answer even once, they're going to scrutinize you for it. So just pay attention to what you say. Don't, like I said, don't let them bully you, because they're going to sit and they're going to, some of them will yell, some of them will take you and sit you by yourself and try to, say, are you sure that you're telling the truth? Because you could be charged with perjury or whatever, and you could spend time in prison and all of this because you're signing a federal contract. And while that probably is true, a lot of people feel like they've done something wrong even if they haven't. So don't let them coerce you into saying that you lied or that you actually did something, because even if you don't, some people get nervous and they're just like, oh my God, what did I do? Did I leave something out? Am I really lying and I just don't know that I'm lying? You know what I mean? So a lot of people were very scared because they asked the question if they'd ever smoked pot, and some people that I was at MEPS with said yes, but it had been years ago and they were disqualified right then and there. Made to go home, can't serve, you're disqualified from service if you've ever done any type of illegal drug. So I'm not going to say to lie to the people at MEPS, but if you say that you have done that, just be advised you will be disqualified. On the spot, no questions asked, pack your shit, and go home. You won't be allowed to come back. The next thing is you will have to do a drug test. If you go to MEPS to do your physical, your medical and stuff, if you stay overnight, my advice is to get up in the morning and don't go to the bathroom. You'll be in a hotel, you'll get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. You're gonna want to pee, but hold it. I am one of the people that I can't pee on command, especially if somebody is waiting for me or watching me. They do watch you. So if that's the way that you are, hold your bladder. I know it sucks. I know it's uncomfortable, but you can pretty much bet that when you get there within an hour or two, they're going to start that portion to where you'll be able to go and do your drug test. They have water fountains. They have cups. If you need to just walk around with a cup of water all morning, so be it. You would much rather do that than do what I did and not be able to pee, and then you have to go and you have to sit in the waiting room drinking water until you're able to go, and it's embarrassing, and it takes these people's time, and they get irritated because they don't want to go and sit in the bathroom and stare at you for 15 minutes so that you can go. So be prepared. I did not go to the bathroom when I woke up that morning. I held it, but because somebody was watching me, I still couldn't go. So just be prepared for that. You cannot wear open-toed shoes. You cannot wear shorts. You cannot wear tank tops or like cap sleeves. Girls, you can't wear the sleeves that come to like here. It has to be an actual t-shirt or long sleeve shirt. You cannot wear a hoodie or a jacket. My advice to you is it's fairly chilly, or at least it was the one that I went in. It was fairly chilly, and I had on a hoodie because I didn't know that I couldn't wear one, and just a t-shirt underneath. So I was cold for most of the day because they made me take my hoodie off. So I would suggest just wearing a comfortable long sleeve shirt, blue jeans, tennis shoes. Do not get fancy, girls. They don't appreciate that. They don't want you walking around in skin tight jeans and a revealing top. They will make you turn your shirt around. This right here would not be acceptable at MEPS, and this is a hoodie. It needs to be a crew cut, like a regular t-shirt. You cannot wear leggings. You can't wear skinny jeans. They have to be regular blue jeans. I'm not sure if you can wear sweatpants, but if you can, that may be your safest option because they're not fitted and skin tight. The people up there do not appreciate that at all, and they will make you change. So just keep your nose to the ground at MEPS. Don't draw attention to yourself. Don't take your phone with you. If you do, make sure that you turn it off and put it in your purse or backpack or whatever. They give you a little locker storage area to put your stuff in. Also, if you can drive, if you have a car and you're comfortable with driving, most of the time you're going to a bigger city, or if it's close enough to you. MEPS was only 2 hours from me, so I drove. I definitely recommend driving. If you don't, you are going to be either on a bus from your recruiter's office with 2 or 3 other people. Your recruiter may take you to the hotel that you'll be staying at, and then the bus will pick you and everybody else up from there and take you to MEPS. So if that's the case and you are on this bus, your recruiter may offer to take you the whole way, take you to MEPS, wait for you, bring you back, whatever. That would be fine. But if you do go and you're on a bus, you'll go to MEPS that morning, or that evening actually. Like I said, it's usually you're spending the night. So you'll go the first day, you'll take your ASVAB, you'll go the second day and do all your medical stuff. So that first day, when you get to MEPS and you take your ASVAB, you have to wait until everybody that rode the bus with you is done testing and done doing everything that they have to do before you can leave. So when I went, I tested. I got done before a lot of other people, I was able to get in my car and leave. And I went and got myself some dinner. I ran to the store and got a couple things, went back to the hotel, and I was free to just chill because it was like 4 in the afternoon. So you don't have to do anything once you leave. You're on your own. So the first time that I ever went to MEPS, I was in high school. I did ride a bus, and it sucked ass. I had to sit. I tested for the ASVAB. I took the test, and I sat and I waited for almost 4 hours before everybody that I went with was done, so that we could all get on the bus and go back to the hotel. And then you're stuck at the hotel for the rest of the evening. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. I ended up walking about 2 blocks down the road to an Arby's to get dinner. Make sure you take money with you. The hotel that I stayed at offered the recruits dinner and breakfast the next morning, and it was god awful. It was a nice hotel, but the food was disgusting. It made a lot of people sick. Not saying that that's going to happen to everybody. You may get lucky, but I would suggest taking like $20 with you just in case you get to dinner and it's really gross, because that's not something that you're going to want to do, is go around hungry the entire time. If nothing else, you can get food from a vending machine. So that about covers MEPS. Next, most people will go into delayed entry. If it's for 1 week, if it's for 2 months, however long it's going to be before you can actually leave for basic. So in my opinion, you need to start running. If you haven't already, you need to start running, doing push-ups and sit-ups, and start drinking a shit ton of water. You have to get your body used to drinking water. Before I left, I drank nothing but water all day long for about a month or so, and it really helped. There were a lot of people there that had come off of normal daily lives. You know, they're drinking Coke and tea and coffee and all of this stuff, and you don't have those things when you get there. And your body is going to go like, what the fuck is going on? Because you're going from drinking 5 or 6 sodas a day to 15 canteens of water a day, and it's a huge shock to your system. So definitely drink lots and lots and lots of water. When you're at basic, you will have to drink, I believe it's 10 canteens a day, 10 or 12, I don't remember. 10 or 12 canteens. They're not the old school canteens like you see in the movies. It's actually a Camelback of water. It's like a 28 ounce water bottle, but you have to drink a certain amount of those a day, or else you get in a shit ton of trouble. So definitely start drinking water now. Even if you're a month or 2 out from leaving, get your body used to it. You'll lose weight, you'll feel better, you'll sleep better, you'll have more energy anyway, so just start doing it. Cut out soda completely. Tea is probably okay. Juice, as long as it's not just packed full of sugar. But in my opinion, just plain water all the time is the best thing for you. Running, you need to be able to run 1.5 miles without stopping. If you can run at least 1 mile without stopping, you should be good to go. I recommend 1.5 miles just because you don't want to get there and struggle. But at the same time, you've got 9 weeks. You don't have to be able to run 1.5 miles without stopping until the end of those 9 weeks. So if you're at running 1 mile now without stopping, you can work on that when you get there. The only downfall to that is you don't do that every day. You don't get out and run every day. So, whereas if you're at home, you can literally go outside or go to a gym and run every single day to get your body used to it and get faster and be able to endure more. You can't do that when you're at MEPS. Don't wait, not MEPS, when you're at basic, don't wait for basic to start training. You're going to suffer. And it's going to suck. There were so many people that were just ragged on and roasted on by the MTIs because they couldn't run, or they couldn't do push-ups, or they couldn't do sit-ups. well, what the fuck were you doing for the past 2 years or whatever? You know, they're going to make fun of you. They're going to do all of these things, and you don't want to be that person. You want to keep your head down. You want to go unnoticed. The fastest way to be able to go unnoticed is to be able to blend in, fit in with everybody. Don't call attention to yourself. And one of the main areas where people call attention to themselves is PT. So you should be able to run 1.5 miles without stopping, at minimum a mile. You should be able to do at least 20 sit-ups, at least 20 push-ups, and 30 to 40 sit-ups. So they give you a lot of misconceptions come into the way that the Air Force does PT. A lot of people say, well, it's just like the Army. You're out there, you're busting your ass all day, every day. You're running, you're doing push-ups, you're doing all this stuff, and you're going to come out looking like a beast. That is not the case, okay? 90%, probably more closer to 80% of your time at basic is spent in a classroom or in your dorm. You're not working out all of that time. So if you think that you're going to be able to go from doing absolutely nothing to basic and be okay because you've got 9 weeks to work out and train, that's not an accurate statement. You'll fail. Okay, don't let your recruiter tell you that. My recruiter told me that, and I was smart enough to go ahead and train anyway. He said, it's okay if you don't have any experience, if you're not in shape, if you can't run, if you can't do all of this stuff, because you have 9 weeks to get there. That's bullshit. You don't have 9 weeks of just physical training. You have 9 weeks of classwork and weapons training and being in your dorm and doing all of these other things. Most of it is not physical. But at the end of those 9 weeks, you are required to be able to meet the minimum requirements to graduate. And if you can't do that, you're stuck. You know, so I would recommend being able to run 1.5 miles, do 20 push-ups and 30 to 40 sit-ups without stopping. The way that they do PT every other day, they do PT and stuff. Excuse me. So it's not like an MTI is standing over you, counting how many sit-ups you do, counting how many push-ups you do, making sure that when you're running you don't slow down. That's not it at all. You're on a huge football field size area with a track that goes around it. So sometimes you're in the middle in the football field area and you're doing your push-ups and your sit-ups, stretching, calisthenics, jumping jacks, stuff like that, with 200 other people and maybe 20 MTIs. They're not going to walk through and count everything that you do, but your buddy will, okay? You have to have a wingman with you at all times. So the person that's next to you is going to be counting your push-ups, your sit-ups. They don't count jumping jacks or anything like that, but push-ups and sit-ups they'll be counting. If you get there and they say, okay, for the next minute we're doing push-ups, go. Don't stop. You can't stop. If you put your knee down, your time stops. If you, if any part of your body hits the ground other than your hands and your feet, your time stops. You have to quit. You can't keep going. You can arch your back, put your ass up in the air, and get a little bit of relief from your back and then keep going. That's okay. They're not going to come around and count how many you're doing. They don't come around and count. They don't come around and ask your wingman how many you've done. They don't care. All they care about is the testing. They have intervals every few weeks that you have to get through. And then your final test at the end of the 9 weeks. So be able to do it because you don't want to be singled out. If they see you and you're doing push-ups for a minute and you're just sitting there and it's been like 10 seconds and you've already fallen or you've already given up, you're going to get screamed at. You're going to have to run. You're going to have to do something. Blend in. That's the best thing that you can possibly do at basic. Blend in. Water, run, push-ups, sit-ups. Just make sure before you leave, if you have a month, if you're on delayed entry or whatever for a month, that's a perfect amount of time. every day, do something, whether it's push-ups and sit-ups one day, running the next day, you do all three the same day, whatever you do, do it. Get cardio, strengthen your muscles, drink plenty of water. You just have to prepare yourself, or you're going to regret it. Okay, so the next thing I want to go over is packing list. I'm only going to address the packing list for the women because I am not a dude and I don't know what they got in their backpacks. So what the Air Force is doing now is a backpack initiative. You get an awesome rucksack. It's full of everything that you're going to need. The only things that you need to take with you, and I cannot stress this enough because I literally packed a duffel bag full of shit because the videos that I watched said you need to take this and this and you need to take this and you need to take this. It's bullshit. The only things that you need to take, women, are bras, sports bras, and underwear. I took, I think, 10 sports bras and probably 10 to 12 pairs of underwear at minimum. That's what you should do. You don't get to do laundry every day. You may get to do laundry once a week. So when you're doing PT and you come in at midday and you take a shower, you have to change. And then you're putting on, so you're going through an entire set in one day. And then if you do that 3 days a week, that's 6 bras there. Plus the other 4 days, so you have to realize you have to plan for running out. You don't ever want to run out of anything because if you put on something dirty and you stink, you're going to get called out for that too. So I recommend taking at least 10 to 12 of both just to be safe. Sports bras, make sure they're supportive. You're going to be doing a lot of walking, a lot of marching. You'll be running, doing jumping jacks, things like that. Make sure that they're supportive. Make sure that they're not too tight because the last thing that you want is to be uncomfortable. You're going to be up from 5 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, and you're going to be in these things the entire time. So make sure that they're comfortable. Make sure that you have enough underwear. Do not bring anything that is not cotton. You will regret it. I cannot tell you how many girls were in my dorm that had like nylon or silk or lace or whatever underwear, and not only did they look fucking ridiculous, but they were uncomfortable and they chafed and they stunk, and it was just it's not good for anybody. So just take full cotton underwear, not thongs, not boy shorts. If that's what you're comfortable with, that's fine. I totally, completely recommend just regular brief underwear, like the bikini brief is what I took. You want something that covers you, because if you take a thong to basic training, not only is it going to be extremely uncomfortable when you do your workouts, but the pants, your uniform pants are thick. When you get them, they're brand new, they haven't been washed. You don't get to wash them right away. So for the first week or so, you're going to be wearing the same 2 or 3 uniforms every day. They hurt. They're stiff, they're hard. The pockets, the seams, they run right along your ass cheeks. So if you've got the full back underwear to protect yourself from that, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Another thing that you guys are going to want to take are some sort of compression shorts. I actually didn't go that route. I bought men's compression boxers, and they actually worked really well. So if you can do that, or compression shorts, whichever, I highly recommend that. So I highly, highly recommend wearing or taking some type of compression short. Like I said, I got the compression men's boxers, the long kind. The only thing that I regret about that is that they didn't come up high enough on your abdomen. Chafing is a huge issue with the women.
Itsy bitsy teeny.
Sorry about that. My little one is home with the flu, so if I get interrupted or if this video pauses from time to time, that's why. So I was talking about the compression shorts. Chafing is a huge issue with the women. It sucks. It hurts. There were so many girls up there. I didn't have that problem because I had the shorts, but there were a lot of girls that didn't bring anything like that. And they were having to march 4 or 5 hours at a time, doing PT, doing all of these things, and literally in tears because they were in so much pain. So if you do nothing else, if you don't pay attention to anything else about this video, please, please, please take my advice and take compression shorts. You will not regret it. I took, I think, 3 pair. I recommend taking more than that just because of the ick factor. You're not going to be able to do laundry a lot. So if you can take 6, 7 pairs, that way you have a clean pair for each day, I recommend doing that. I used the ones that I didn't wear to PT. I wore those more than once, and I don't really recommend that either, but they didn't smell or anything. So if you're super, super, super clean, and you don't want to deal with any of that, I would definitely recommend 6 to 7 pairs. They don't have to be anything expensive. Make sure that they're not long. You don't want them to be sticking out the bottom of your PT shorts. So mid-thigh at the longest is as long as you need to go. You don't want to call attention to that either. You are completely allowed to wear them, but you still have to be in regs whenever you're in your PT gear, and showing the compression shorts underneath of that is not in regs. Make sure that if you buy a name brand, any name brand at all, or a store brand or whatever, if they have a logo on the leg, make sure that if it's colored or silver or whatever, take a black Sharpie, buy black. I don't know if I said that. Don't buy colored compression shorts, buy black, specifically for PT. So if they have a colored logo or anything like that, take a black Sharpie and color that in, because like I said before, the less attention you can draw to yourself, the better. You don't want to be running or doing sit-ups or whatever in your PT gear and you have this hot pink Nike check on your leg, because that is not going to be good for you, I promise. Okay, so we've gone over bras, underwear, compression shorts. Don't worry about taking socks. They provide socks to you. The only things that you will need clothing wise other than that is 2 to 3 changes of clothes for the time before you get your uniform. That's totally up to you what you're comfortable in. I took 3 pairs of jeans and 3 t-shirts. I definitely recommend t-shirts or a long sleeve shirt depending on the type of gear. You can't wear hoodies, jackets, anything with a v-neck like this. You'll get in a shit ton of trouble. Just plain t-shirts, plain long sleeve t-shirts is your best bet. As far as pants, there were some girls that wore workout leggings and they got into quite a bit of trouble for that. So if you don't want to wear jeans, you could wear sweatpants, joggers that are not tight. If they're fitted like skinny jeans are, if they're fitted like that, you're going to get into trouble. No legging type whatsoever. If they're joggers, make sure that you get some that are not tight across your ass, because you will get into so much shit. You do not want to call attention to yourself, especially in that way, because you're going to be, you're not separated. When you're out and you're doing your first marches and things like that, when you go to chow hall and do all of that, you're not separated. It's girls and guys both. So if you're out there and you have on these jeans that make your ass look great, or you have on leggings, or you have on joggers that are really tight, and anybody, whether it's the MTIs or whether it's your brother flight that says anything, makes a gesture, makes a sound, whatever, those MTIs are going to come after you. They're not going to come after the guys that did it. They'll probably get into trouble, but they're going to blame you for it, for dressing like that in the first place. Okay, so you're going to want to take a few changes of clothes. I believe we got our uniforms on the second day that we were there. Sorry about that. So I believe that we got our uniforms on the second day that we were there. So I only actually used the clothes that I wore to MEPS, which is what I arrived at basic in, and then a change of clothes for the following day. You're going to want to take a pair of tennis shoes, running shoes, that are comfortable. Make sure that you do not buy a brand new pair of shoes, never wear them, and then take them to basic with you. That's an awful, awful mistake. You're going to want to make sure that your feet are accustomed to them, that they fit your feet. Don't buy anything that's too snug or too big, because you're going to get welts and stuff on your feet, and then you're just going to be miserable. You will be in tennis shoes for the first week, I believe, until they let you wear your boots, because they don't want you to hurt your feet. So for the first week or so, you'll be in your uniform and tennis shoes. Does not matter what color your shoes are. I was under the impression, because like I said, I wanted to fit in and everything, I was under the impression that your shoes needed to be black. I took black shoes. Those just happened to be my running shoes anyway, so I took those. It doesn't matter what color your shoes are. They will issue you a pair of running shoes. So if you do not have any that your feet are used to, don't go out and spend $100 on a new pair of shoes, because they're going to give you a pair. I didn't like mine. They just didn't fit my foot right. They were like a wide or something, and they let you try them on while you're getting your shoes. They let you try them on. If they're too big or too small, you can take them back to the desk. They'll give you a different pair to try. You don't get to pick what shoes you want, only by size. So the shoes that I ended up with, I did not like. I didn't like the look of them, but they didn't fit me very well at all. They hurt my legs and they hurt my feet. So after about 4 or 5 days, we had some downtime in the dorm, and I asked our MTI if we were able to access our luggage. They take it and they put it in a storage room. I asked if we were able to access our luggage so that I could switch my shoes out, because those were hurting me. And she scheduled a time later that evening for us to do that. So if you ever have to ask your MTI something while we're on this topic, always have a reason for it. Don't go up and ask a stupid ass question. Well, can I get into my luggage so I can get my makeup? Fuck no. Okay? Can I get into my luggage so that I can get my shoes, because these are causing me a lot of pain when I'm walking and running? That's understandable. Just be aware that your MTIs are not stupid, and they don't take kindly to people that have no common sense. So packing, you definitely want to take 2 to 3 changes of clothes, plenty of underwear, plenty of sports bras, your running shoes. That's it as far as the clothes are concerned. I took a lot of stuff. I had to fly, so I put everything in the little bottles that are able to be taken on a plane. It was totally unnecessary. I spent a lot of money buying products that I knew I could take with me. I bought like 3-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, body wash, so that I could do everything quickly. Bought the little containers to put them in and everything. Spent a lot of time getting all of that stuff together. Never touched it one time. They give you body wash. They give you shampoo. They give you a little poof for the shower. They give you all of those things. You're going to have a toothbrush with you, because you're going to stay overnight at MEPS before you leave. So unless you get to the hotel and you request a toothbrush and then you just throw it away, you're going to have your toothbrush, but you're not going to use it. I didn't use mine. I used the one that they gave me. I used the toothpaste that they gave me. The only thing that I brought with me that I used was deodorant. They legit give you men's, like, right guard gel deodorant, and it sucks. It stinks. You walk around smelling like a guy. I hate the gel. That's just a personal preference, and it feels disgusting to me. It works, I guess, but I didn't like it at all, and it started to break me out. So I was able to use whenever we were able to get into our luggage, I grabbed my deodorant out. A tip for girls, when you go to PT, and even when you're just putting on your uniform, if you will take your deodorant, and it only works, do not do this with gel, it only works in the bar form, just regular deodorant. If you take that deodorant and you put it on the insides of your thighs, like at the tops of your legs, it will take away the moisture and the rubbing, so you are so much less likely to chafe. When I was there, I did that. I do that at my house. If I'm wearing like a skirt or a dress or whatever, or if I'm working out or running or something, I do that here. And by the 4th or 5th day at Basic, I had everybody in my dorm doing that because they were so chafed and they were miserable. So that's a huge tip. Do what you will with it, but I highly recommend using that as a barrier for chafing. So I use my own deodorant. They provide you with hair gel because it's really hard to find hair gel with no alcohol in it. You're not allowed to take hairspray. That's an aerosol. You're not allowed to take hairspray or hair gel that has alcohol. They give you a big bottle of Tresemme gel. I had actually got the exact same thing in a smaller travel size bottle that I never even touched because they give you the big one. That's one of the only hair gels that I was able to find that didn't have alcohol. And then when I get to Basic, they give me the exact same thing, just bigger. So I never even used mine. So they give you a toothbrush, toothpaste. They give you that awful deodorant. They give you hair gel. They give you shower items. They give you flip-flops. You don't have to take shower shoes or flip-flops. They give you those. They give you towels, socks, dental floss, and I think that's about it. So the only items that I suggest you actually taking with you are Q-tips. They don't provide you with Q-tips that I remember. Bobby pins and ponytail holders. Plenty of them because you will lose them. People will borrow them. Just make sure that you have plenty. I took a soap dish, one of the little plastic soap dishes. You can get it at the Dollar Tree or Walmart. It's the little box that locks. I had one side of it completely full of bobby pins, and I had the other side completely full of hair ties. And I used about 3/4 of mine. So definitely take as many as you can fit in a little container. They have to be the same color as your hair. If you are blonde or brunette, don't take black ponytail holders and black bobby pins. If you're blonde, you need to find the ponytail holders and bobby pins that match the blonde. They make them. I think Scooney makes them. I think Goodies makes them. They're out there. Look for them. You will definitely need at least 40 to 50 hair ties because they're going to break. You're going to loan one to somebody, whatever the case may be. So definitely have more on hand than what you think that you would actually need. As far as hair is concerned, let me touch on that for just a second, and then we'll get back to the packing list. If you have a hair color that is not natural, this is my natural color. I haven't touched it since 3 years ago, I think, so I have no different color or anything like that in my hair, no chemical treatment or anything. There were girls that showed up with platinum blonde hair, and after the first 2 weeks their roots started to show and they got into a lot of trouble. If that happens, they will make you use some of your pay. They will take you out of training, take you to a god-awful salon, like it's where they go, where they take the men to have their head shaved. It's not like they're there to make you beautiful. So they will take you to a barbershop. You will pay to have this person at the shop color your hair all one color, your natural color, or as close to a natural color, to match your roots. So I don't recommend that at all. Not only are you going to get absolutely just roasted on for that by the MTIs, but you're going to be out that money. They don't pay for it, you pay for it. You're going to end up looking like shit, because more than likely, if you show up with chemical treated hair, especially platinum hair, you're facing your hair falling out, because you're going from platinum to dark brown or whatever your roots look like. Not something that I would want to risk, especially looking at how expensive hair treatments can be in the first place. If you go out and you spend $150 to get your hair highlighted, or dyed all one color, platinum, whatever, and you show up to basic and 2 weeks later you have to do something and pay again to cover all of that up, you're going to be really pissed off. Highlights are also a no. Don't show up with highlights, because your roots will grow. It's just not good. Okay, so back to packing. Hair ties, Q-tips. I recommend taking lotion. Excuse me. You won't have time to use body lotion. Just understand that going in. You're not going to be able to take a shower and moisturize like you would at home. But I do recommend taking a face lotion. You're going to be exposed to elements down there in Texas that most people are not used to. It's going to be dirty. I went in the winter over Christmas, so it was really cold. It was windy. A lot of people were dealing with dry skin, chapped lips, things like that. So definitely take a facial moisturizer. If you can, it needs to be in a bottle, like a travel size bottle, because they're going to want to know what it is. If you just show up with a clear bottle of something in it that's not labeled, they're more than likely going to take it away from you, which they can do. If you have something that they don't agree with, they will take it and throw it away. So make sure that it's labeled, original label if at all possible. If you have a huge bottle and you want to put it in travel size, write on it what it is, with Sharpie, put a piece of tape over it so it doesn't rub off, whatever. Just make sure that it's labeled. So hair ties, bobby pins, Q-tips, some sort of facial moisturizer, pretty much everything else they give you. Everything that you need for a shower, basic hygiene. Like I said, you'll want to take your own deodorant if you're like me and you don't want to use the dude gel that they give you. They give you socks, things like that. So that's pretty much the only thing that you'll need. I packed so much stuff that I never even got to touch, that I literally brought back with me the same way that I took it. The only thing that I do recommend that I a lot of people wanted and didn't have, or didn't know that they could bring, is makeup. You will be taking pictures, your basic training pictures. You'll be able to do your makeup for those pictures if your MTI lets you. I will say that you only have about 10 minutes to do your makeup, so don't expect to go in and be able to do your eyebrows and contour and do all of this crazy stuff. Don't take all of that crap. I would just say take your basic essentials that you want to do. You can't wear anything crazy anyway. You can't wear like lipstick and crazy eyeshadows and things like that. So you should take foundation, a blush, a bronzer if you use a bronzer, and mascara. Maybe you may be able to get away with eyeliner if you do just a little bit. You can't walk in there with a cat eye or anything like that. But if you do just a little bit, like a defining line, you can probably get away with that. And mascara. So just your basic things, just to kind of give you a little bit of confidence, because you definitely don't want to go in taking pictures looking like you're going to through the entire basic. You're gonna look like shit. Just be warned. You're not there to make a boyfriend or get a boyfriend anyway, so don't worry about that. Everybody looks like shit. That's just part of it. So it's kind of freeing in a way, because you don't have to worry about getting up and putting makeup on and impressing everybody. Everybody looks the same. Everybody looks like hammered ass. So I think you're going to be all right. So just a quick rundown again. Things that you need to take with you. 2, possibly 3 changes of clothes. You may want to take 3 just to be safe. Underwear and sports bras, Q-tips, bobby pins, hair ties, a face lotion, deodorant, and your makeup. I don't recommend taking a big bag. I made that mistake. Like I said, I took a huge duffel bag, like a regular size duffel bag, and it was an awful mistake. If you can manage to fit what you need into a backpack, take a backpack. You're going to be so much better off in something that you can put on both shoulders, because what's going to happen is you're going to not only have to lug a huge ass duffel bag through the airport like I did with a flight change, so getting it on and off the plane and doing all that, and I had to walk like a mile in the airport to get to where I needed to go. That sucked. So not only that, but whenever you get to basic, you're going to go into this huge theater auditorium type thing, and that's where they sit you down and give you your backpack with everything that you need. So you're going to have, it's like a tactical backpack. It's like a rucksack. So it's a backpack, but it's kind of bigger and bulkier. So whenever you get there, they'll make you put a tag on the luggage that you bring, and then they'll have you go sit down. They'll put it like in a pile or something, have you go sit down, and you listen to everybody talk, tell you what you can expect. Most of it's bullshit. Then you'll go and you'll get your backpack and everything in it. Then you'll have to take the backpack that you just get and the luggage that you brought with you, and you'll have to carry it however far away your dorm is. I was lucky enough that my dorm was not too far from the atrium, from the theater that we were in, but you still have to carry it. You are basically walk running to catch up with your MTI, because he isn't carrying luggage and he or she isn't walking at a leisurely pace. Get used to that too. So you've got this luggage and it's heavy, and you're tired because it's late at night and you've been up since 5 o'clock that morning at MEPS, and you're just exhausted, and they're walking, and all of a sudden they stop and they'll say, put your bags down. And you take your stuff off and you put it down, and as soon as it hits the ground, okay, pick it back up. So you have to pick it back up and put it back on, put your bags down. And they go through this like 5 or 6 times and put them down, pick them up, put them down, pick them up. And like, if somebody starts to laugh because it's kind of funny, because it sucks, if somebody starts to laugh, they just keep going. Or they'll make you do push-ups or something to that extent. So if you can avoid having a huge duffel bag that weighs like 40 pounds and then this backpack that weighs like 30 pounds and you're having to lug both of those and you're gonna go up a flight of stairs or 2 to get to your dorm, nothing's on the ground floor, you have to go upstairs. So if you have a backpack, you can put yours on the front of your body, put the backpack they give you on the back of your body, so that you're not having to sit there. I had this like cross strap thing and this huge bag over here on the side, and the backpack was on the back, and I couldn't hardly walk, and it was awful. I totally regretted carrying a duffel bag as soon as I got to the airport, let alone getting to basic. So those are just your basic packing list that you need. Don't overdo it. Pretty much everything that you need they give you, except for those few things that I mentioned. So definitely pack as light as possible. You won't regret that, especially when it comes time to drag everything that you brought out, lay it on your bed so that the MTIs can come around and look. You're going to want the least amount of stuff as possible. The only other thing that I recommend taking that I haven't already mentioned is a notebook. They do provide you with notebooks, but they're little. They're not like a regular notebook. The reason that I say to take a regular size notebook is for letters, or any kind of notes that you really want to take. More than likely you're going to put those notes in the little notebook that they give you. The only downfall to taking a big notebook is you have to find a way to store it in your locker, because I tried to carry things around with me in that backpack, and if you're walking and marching for 3 or 4 hours or more in a day, it gets heavy. And you wouldn't think that a notebook would be that heavy, but it works. It works on you. So take a notebook. You may want to take a pen or two if you feel like it. They give you all of that stuff. They give you notebooks and pens and highlighters and note cards, I think, things like that. So if you feel like taking a notebook, go ahead. If you don't, you don't have to. What I did, if you do plan to take a notebook, what I did, and I do recommend doing it, is in the back of the notebook, like after all of the pages on that like cardboard backing, I cut a bunch of pictures. I'm a mom and a wife and mother, so I cut a bunch of pictures of my husband and my kids, and I pasted them, like Mod Podged them onto the back of this notebook so that I could have them with me. You're going to get a little lonely, especially if you have a family back home, so that was a huge help to get me through some things. And the people that you meet there, the girls that'll be in your dorm with you, some of them won't have pictures, and even though they don't know your family, it does good for them to come and look at your pictures, because it just helps to get a better image of why you're there, why you're doing what you're doing. You know, even if the pictures that you're looking at aren't your family, it makes you think about your family and it gets you through it. So if you can, take pictures like that. I don't recommend taking loose pictures, because you may get them taken away, or they may make you store them in your luggage and not in your locker. But if you have them, like I did, pasted like in the back of your notebook, they're not going to go through your notebook to know that they're there. So that may be a good way of keeping them with you. So just a thought. That about does it for the packing list. I will say, yeah, I think that about does it. So the next point that I want to make is one more touch on MEPS and that's the time that you visit when you're shipping off to basic. So basically when that happens, they're going to go through just about the same medical things that you went through the first time. It's not going to be quite as in-depth, but they will ask you thousands of the same questions just to make sure that your statements that day match up to your statements from the last time you were there. You will have to do the duck walk. Ladies, you do that in your underwear. Don't be ashamed. These people at MEPS have seen, I'm sure, everything that there is to see. There is a time when you do have to undress completely, put a gown on, and you have to go in and you have to see the physician. They do a very quick check of your lady parts to make sure that everything is the way that it's supposed to be. They do a quick breast exam just to make sure it's not like you do in your OB's office. They just go kind of look for like 2 seconds each and just make sure that everything's okay. You don't have any outrageous lumps or anything like that. They do a quick check. There's nothing intrusive. They just do a quick check to make sure that you're actually a female. You don't have any kind of extra stuff happening down there. Then you put your stuff back on and you're good to go. So a lot of girls were really freaked out by that. You go into the room to do your calisthenics or whatever, 3 to a room. I volunteered to go into the physician first because I had already done it before, and I've got kids of my own, so I'm not shy when it comes to stuff like that, especially, with a doctor. And I wanted to make sure that the girls that were with me had a little bit of reassurance, because as soon as they said, okay, go ahead and disrobe and put these little gowns on, their faces just went white as a sheet, and like they weren't expecting it at all. So I volunteered to go first, and as soon as I came out the door, they were like, "What? How was it? What did they do? Did they, what do I need to expect? It's okay. Just, there's nothing to be worried about. It literally lasts like 30 seconds. Not a big deal. You're going to have to get used to being seen naked. If you're not comfortable with that, this probably isn't a good idea for you. You will be in a room, like a huge room with 20 to 30 to 40 shower heads in the room, and you have to shower right next to somebody. It's not, you have no privacy when you go to basic. There's no privacy at all. So you walk into the bathroom, and I was in what they call Disneyland, which was like the newer area of Lackland. So when I walked into the bathroom, there was just a little hall kind of area with a bunch of hooks. That's where you put your towels and everything. You walk into the shower, it's over here, and it's just a huge room with probably 30 or so shower heads. And then this way is all of the stalls, bathroom stalls and sinks. So there is no privacy at all. If you have to take a shower, you're doing it in front of people. If you have to take a shit, you're doing it with all of these girls in the room with you. There's 40 to 50, I think a max of 50 girls in a dorm. You're never going to have the bathroom to yourself. So a lot of girls I know, I don't fart, I don't shit, whatever. Get over that now, because you're going to have to be able to walk into that bathroom and go with all of these other girls in there. And if you can't do that, you're going to get backed up, you're going to be in a lot of pain, and you're going to be embarrassed, because if you have to go to the doctor at basic because you can't shit, that's just not going to be good. So definitely something that you need to get over if you have a fear. Do what you got to do, psych yourself out, I don't know, but you're going to have to get over that, because it's not going to go away, and that's a full 9 weeks of being naked in front of 50 other girls. You get used to it. I wasn't too thrilled about having to do that the first time, but to be honest with you, you get 4 to 6 minutes, depending on how well of a mood your MTI is in, to shower and get dressed. So nobody's looking at you. Nobody cares. Everybody is focused on hurrying up, getting their stuff, getting to the shower, getting done, and getting back and getting dressed. So if that's what you think, that you're embarrassed because people are going to be looking, don't worry about it. I have a huge scar on my stomach, and it was a full like 4 weeks before anybody ever noticed, because everybody's in such a hurry and they're focusing on themselves. They don't care about you. So don't worry about that too much. Another thing I will say about that is, don't take your time. There were so many girls, I say so many, there were probably 5 or 6 girls in my dorm that have that arrogance, that have that attitude about them, that nobody's going to tell me what to do, I can do what I want. First of all, that is not an attitude that you want to have when you go into the service, because you don't get to make decisions for yourself anymore. So these girls were in for a very rude awakening when it came time for showers and things, because they're like in their towel and they're walking around and they're talking to people and they're like trying to do their hair and do all of this stuff, and the MTIs come in and you're still in your towel and everybody else is dressed. You're getting smoked. Like, you're in so much trouble. And if you get out of that shower and you still have, like I said, you're walking through the dorm and you have your towel on and everybody else is dressed in their PT gear, ready to go eat dinner or ready to get into bed or whatever, and you're in your towel, you and your entire dorm are going to have to stop what you're doing and do push-ups. 99% of the time, that towel is going to fall off of you, so you're going to be doing push-ups naked. Not something that you want to do. It's not pretty. Nobody benefits from that at all. So don't think that you can go in and take your time doing anything, whether it's showering, eating, walking, whatever. You cannot take your time doing anything. You have to hurry up. You have to go. You have to do what they say. And don't think that you can get away with things, because those MTIs don't care. If you are used to that, they don't care. If you're spoiled, they don't care about anything. So if you don't agree with that, if you think that you're going to be able to come and go and do as you please and nobody's going to scream at you and whatever, this is not the right career path for you at all. I can't tell you how many girls that were like that in my dorm, and they were miserable after the first week or so, because they were just like, I've made a mistake. Like, don't give your MTI attitude. You know, if they tell you to do something, don't just whatever. That's not a good idea. If you can't take direction, if you can't listen to what your MTI say and just do it and shut up and keep your mouth shut, keep your head down and do what you're told. If you can't do that, then this isn't right for you. You get into a lot of trouble. So when you're at basic, like I've said this whole time, one of my biggest tips that I can give you: go unnoticed. I enlisted when I was 30 years old. I was able to do this and go in to basic with a better understanding of life in general, because of my age, because I have experience, because I'm a mom. I was able to go in knowing you're not in charge. You don't have any authority at all. You don't get to make any decisions. You don't get to say when you can get up and go to the bathroom. You don't get to say, I want this and this and this for dinner. You don't get to say when you get to go to bed. You don't get to take naps. You don't you don't have a say in anything. You do what they say, when they say it, and that's it. So just blend in. If they ask you to do something, or tell you to do something or whatever, don't come back with an attitude. Don't do it slowly. Definitely don't ever roll your eyes. Don't talk back. Just basic respect will get you a long way. There were a lot of girls that got into a lot of trouble because they're used to getting their way and doing what they want to do and having an attitude with people, whether it's your MTI or whether it's the other people in your dorm. The MTIs don't stand for that. If you start drama, you're going to have a really bad time. So don't go into your dorm thinking that you're queen bee and you're the shit and nobody can mess with you and what you say goes, whatever. You're going to have an awful, awful experience. Keep your head down. Don't talk. If you're in formation and you speak, you're going to get smoked. If you are in bed after lights out and you start talking, you're going to get smoked. And what I mean by that is you're going to get into a shit ton of trouble. You're going to have to do push-ups, jumping jacks, sit-ups, whatever. Not only you, but your entire dorm is going to have to do it because of you. Everybody's going to end up hating you, and it's just not going to be fun at all. So if that's the only thing that you take away from this, so be it. Keep your head down. Go unnoticed. Blend in. You don't want to be the person that, look at me, you know, I'm the star of the show, I'm this. Even if you are, even if you're getting good attention, that's not even good because inevitably you're gonna screw up. And when you do, it's going to make it so much worse. So if you can just blend in with everybody around you, don't call any attention to yourself. Yes, ma'am, no, sir, whatever. Just do it. Make your life easier. The only other thing that I want to talk about, and this was a personal experience, this is not something that everybody is going to experience, but I do want to address it. If you have any issues at all, if you have anxiety, if you have, I don't know, if you're afraid of something, if you don't really want to go, if your parents are forcing you to enlist, whatever the case may be, if you do not want to be in the service, do not go to basic training. You will regret it so much. Like, you don't, it's awful. Okay, I have wanted nothing more with my life than to be enlisted. It did not matter to me which branch. I just so happened to choose the Air Force. But ever since I was like 4 years old, that's all I ever wanted with my life. And when I got there, I got through the first 3 weeks of training. We did another med screening, and in that screening we did vision, dental, hearing, things like that, and it was discovered that I have hearing loss. With the job that I had, being a linguist, that was a huge, huge issue because my job was literally to listen and interpret things. And because of the degree of hearing loss that I had, I was disqualified from the Air Force in general. I could have chose to fight, not guaranteeing that I would have won. Most people that fight their med decisions don't win, but I could have chose to fight. I would have lost my job anyway and ended up doing something like being a clerk or just an office stooge or something like that, which is not what I wanted to do with my life. So long story short, at about 3 weeks, we went and we did our med review, and that's when you get your immunizations, peanut butter shot, things like that, which is not a big deal. Do not let anybody tell you otherwise. There were some girls there that were hyperventilating and freaking out because they were scared to death, and it's just a shot. It hurts a little, but it's nothing that you can't manage. So anyways, that day is when we did the testing. I got the results right then and there that I had hearing loss, or they detected hearing loss. So I went back and I told my MTI. They set me up an appointment for the following day to see the audiologist. I went back. The audiologist did a bunch of tests and determined that I had a significant level of hearing loss, which I had just grown accustomed to over the years. I didn't realize that it was an issue. I had taught myself to deal with it because I didn't know any better. I didn't know that it was hearing loss. I just thought that, I adapted to it. So I was disqualified, and I ended up in what is called med hold. Med hold is also very lovingly referred to as med hell. It is not a place you want to end up. I was one of the only true medical cases that were there. A lot of the girls, I would say probably a good 70% of the girls that were there with me were there for anxiety. I was there for 3 or 4 weeks before I was able to come home. So in that time frame, I got to talk to these girls, and some of them were basically forced into the service by their parents. They didn't want to be there. They never wanted to be there. They got to basic after the first day or two, had a panic attack, and were sent to med hold, where they waited to be evaluated. They waited for their paperwork to be done, and they waited to go home. There were people that had been there for a week. There were people that had been there for 4 months. And it's just not, it's not a place that you want to end up. I was absolutely miserable. I was heartbroken. It was an awful, awful, awful time in my life. And to go through that without your family, or friends, or any kind of support at all, to go through that on your own it was hell. It was literal hell. There were girls that, like I said, they didn't want to be there, so they faked, and I said panic attack because it wasn't real. I don't discredit panic attacks. I know that they are a very real thing, but these girls, that's not the case there. They literally went into breathing hard and freaking out and trying to pass out and doing all of these things to get out of service, because they knew that if they have this condition, if you have anxiety and you get panic attacks, you're disqualified from the service. So they knew that, and they did that so that they would be disqualified, so that they could get out and go home. And a lot of them, like I said, were 18 years old, and their parents had forced them to go in, which I never did understand, because you're 18, you're an adult, you can make your own decisions. So I don't get that at all. Unless it was just something along the lines of wanting to please their parents, or they lived with their parents and they gave them an ultimatum, either go to the service or we're kicking you out. I don't know. But they were miserable. There was a couple of people that had been there, like I said, for 3 to 4 months. That's a really long time. That's much longer than all of basic. There were some people that were there for sprains, for actual injuries. Those people are just there until they heal, and then they can go back to training. But even then, they have to wait, until they're better. They're in med hold for 3 weeks to 9 weeks, depending on how long it takes for them to heal. And then they have to go back to the week that they left. They have to go back into a flight that's in that week and finish out with people they don't even know. Some people were there because they were, it was determined they were like, I can't think of the word, but like anemic. But apparently they didn't know beforehand that they were anemic, and that was figured out during that med hold, or during that med screening. Just different things, but most of them were there for anxiety, and 95% of those girls were faking it. They would tell you to your face. They wouldn't say it to the MTIs, but they would tell you, that they just didn't want to be there. They just wanted to go home. They wanted to get out. And there were a lot of girls that were there that their flight had already graduated like 4, 5, 6 weeks before. Like, they were already done and gone, and they were at their duty station, and they're still sitting there at basic training and med hold waiting to be able to go home. It just, if you have any doubts at all, this is a huge deal for me. If you have any doubts at all, if you are unsure that this is what you want to do, if you don't want to do it, don't let anybody pressure you into it. You're an adult. If you're 18 years old, you can make your own decisions. I understand that your parents are a big influence to you, but ultimately this is your life. If they're telling you that you have to go into the service, or they're going to kick you out, or you have to go find a job, that's the easiest route to go. Go find a job. Move in with a friend. Find a different family member. Ask for assistance from your community, from your state, something like that. Joining the military, if you really don't want to do it, is an awful, awful idea. You'll regret it. You're wasting all of that time in your life, and then you're going to go right back to where you started with absolutely nothing to show for it. You can't put something like this on a resume because you didn't complete anything. You can't, what are you going to do? I spent 3 days in basic training before I got sent to med hold because I had a fake panic attack. You can't do things like that. So if this is not what you want to do, don't do it. Find something else to do with your life. Because for the people like me that have wanted this since they were little, and they finally got everything that they dreamed of, and then they get there and then they have to go home, it's a huge slap in the face whenever you walk into med hold thinking that there's going to be other people like you there that are miserable, that they have to leave, and they're there because they just didn't want to go to basic. It's a big letdown. It was just a really awful experience. So at any cost, if you are going in because you actually want to and you want to serve your country and you're going in for you, avoid med hold at all costs. Don't, if you're sick, if you have a headache, if you can get through it, just get through it. For the first week and a half that I was in basic, I had a cold, but I didn't go and I didn't say, hey, I'm sick, I need to go, I need to be seen. It's awful. You'll regret it. So if you can avoid med hold, avoid it at all costs, because it's an awful, awful, awful place to be. That pretty much sums up everything that I wanted to talk about. If anybody has any questions about MEPS, about packing, about basic, about med hold, shoot me a comment and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks a lot.